Welcome to the Create with Katrina Julia show by Fit Life Creation, where we talk all the things on wellness, faith, marketing, business, and travel to create a life and business you love. I've been there, friend. I've walked from fear to faith, self-hate to love, corporate to calling, and bondage to freedom, along with transformation in every area of my life. I'm right here with you, walking along on my own path to creating. So tune in so that you learn how to create a life and business you love, hands-on. Let's create it. If you are looking for an incredible program on a monthly basis that combines everything you need to create and scale a life and business you love, you are going to love what I created with Subkit on a monthly basis. But first, if you're tuning in for the first time, I want you to know a little bit more about me. And you can find the link in the show notes as well on Subkit and everything you want to know. So first, I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, athlete, traveler, creator, and CEO who has transformed every area of life from the inside out since 2010 and continues to, shifting from fear to faith, self-hate to love, corporate to calling, pain to purpose, lies to love, and bondage to freedom. I've worked with 15,000 plus entrepreneurs online and live, traveled the world full-time 2020 through 2022, worked with brands like NBC, Airbnb, WeWork, Victoria's Secret, and aim to help over 1 million mission-based brands and entrepreneurs create and scale what they love with freedom. What does that mean? Imagine you having a clear roadmap and creating and scaling step by step to progress in your life with freedom, with wellness, with marketing, with business, with travel. Everything I walk through, everything that I share, everything that I've leveraged or make money from, I help you create it too. So it all matters, whether it's rising to be and doing one more thing on the hard days or working on projects like NBC Apprentice or Airbnb, it's all big and adds up. So I want to encourage you to hashtag create it now. And what does the program with Subkit look like? First, when you click the link in the show notes, Create It Like a Boss, you will see on the second link, the monthly Create It. And one of the betas that I'm running right now is an intro deal on $44 a month, which is basically less than a smoothie bowl or a trip to Starbucks per month. And you will get to create it with exclusive access and discounts, updates on the 75 plus tools every single month. That means all the tools that I'm testing, whether it's something like Subkit or the new tools that I'm 10xing my social media automatically across platforms, new creative creations that I'm beta testing and I want your feedback, an exclusive newsletter for you getting started, and updates to the 7-day online challenge that covers wellness, wealth, business, and travel. If you want a plus experience, you get all of that, plus the Create It Summit quarter, every single quarter, that includes over 50 plus courses to take an even deeper dive, plus a vision workshop to really align to your goals from the inside out, updated every single quarter, and a group session with me on a specific theme, from jumpstart to transformation to unleashing inspiration to money matters to smart social media to crazy confidence. So a brand new theme every single month, and you get access to all the replays. Then if you want a VIP experience, you can get all the above, plus guaranteed features, lives, and co-launches, one per quarter, and one-on-one sessions that I will do with my VIPs every single month. At the bottom of that page on the Create It Monthly, You will see incredible content as well, like the subkit feature on Get to Know Me, my faith series, freebies, how to find over $500,000 daily in opportunities, global retreats, insights into my almost 2 years of full time travel, 7 steps to build a presence online, and the Lifestyle Brand Like a Boss course coming in June, and a lot more. So, can't wait to see you on the inside, and let's create it. Welcome to the power of story sharing and why stories sell. Sharing our stories is powerful beyond measure. I'm an avid proponent of sharing your story. I've gotten to learn this massively from both a heavy corporate background in strategy, in finance, in operations, in 7+ industries like education, energy, and executive roles, and then shifting from corporate to calling and realizing how powerful it is in 2023 and beyond in our world today. So, years ago, it wasn't a norm so much to share stories. So many of us aren't necessarily open and or conditioned, or this isn't a, how to put it, in, a skill that comes easy for us. Many of us grew up watching family or friends, of business, and keeping our personal lives separate from our business lives. So give yourself the grace to realize this is a skill set we get to learn. So through working with incredible people like Bo Eason, Brendan Bouchard, and Shailene Johnson, I've increased the skill set of story sharing and continue to do so. I've also learned from incredible leaders in Herbalife Global Nutrition like Garen Jones, Celeste Richmond, Style Bell, and so many others, that recognizing the power of story and connecting the emotion to truly connect to people so that people can see themselves in our stories, in our transformation. Creating connection, sharing our stories is what makes the magic manifest. Sharing this journey, the struggle, and the victory, and ultimately our humanity that connects us all. So, I'm going to share some highlights and some story outlines and tying it to social media, tying it to your content, your blogs, your shows, your offers, and a summary. So get your journals, your notepads on your phone ready, because I promise you, you are going to take away so much insight from this episode. So, number one, who are you? Who are you and who are you becoming? So, this and the power of story outlines the attraction of authenticity and vulnerability. It helps humanize us. It helps connect us all in the fact that we all love certain things. We all have overcome things. We've all struggled with things, and there is power in that, and sharing that vulnerability and making us all relatable and removing the lies of fear, of shame and guilt, and recognizing that you're not alone, and there is people on the other side of it all that are walking through the exact same thing you are, or they have walked through it. So you've heard, if you've tuned into my show before, you've heard some of my stories, and for example, I overcame health challenges and weight loss. You may have heard how I lost over 55+ pounds 7+ years ago and kept it off with healthy habits, Herbalife nutrition, competing in fitness shows, and have a history of athletic events before that. So, no, it did not happen overnight, and every step led to the next step and me finding my flow. And in my next episode, I'm going to share how I went from the boardroom to bikinis. Money struggles. Yes, I'm a CPA. Yes, I'm an MBA. Yes, I've worked in 7+ industries and got to 6 figures and helped other brands make 6 to 8 figures consistently. year over year, but that did not keep me immune from different things emotionally that I experienced in childhood that I took into adulthood that surfaced, especially when I became a full-time entrepreneur back in 2011. And then I started recognizing the trauma, the wounds, the false beliefs. And then I started recognizing the possibilities of creating my own wealth step by step beyond the side hustles that I had done for years. In full transparency and vulnerability, I am walking through increased discipline in every area of my life. My phrase for 2023 is I am divinely disciplined. And as I just shared in my wellness, that's in flow. But where this phrase is really, really, really challenging me is in my mindset, in my daily aligned thinking and habits when it comes to my business and my wealth. I am divinely disciplining myself in my time even more. I am increasing focus on financial flow and financial freedom. And I'm walking through new awareness and habits, even more, even beyond my 6 pack of wealth, which I'm going to talk about a bit coming up, and also some upcoming episodes. And I also did in the previous episode. And I'm also walking through financial flow and paying off my debt currently. I'm creating new habits that is increasing the consistency of muscle and action. And similar to, when we start our wellness journeys, right? That we're building the consistency of eating right, or changing and replacing habits, or going to the gym, or finding the flow in self care. It's the same thing with money. It's the same thing with our mindset. It's the same thing with our business. It's the same things with community and finding the overflow and transitioning that faith and that mindset into action and finding the things to celebrate more and more and more. Think about it. Why did I think it was stable to work for someone else and pursuing their dreams, getting a paycheck where they kept my income based on what they thought I was worth versus the value that I was bringing to them, bottom line, of 6 to 8 figures year over year, versus the transition and realizing my own worth and getting to that step by step myself. And that is oftentimes what you or others are walking through. So give yourself that grace and recognize it is a process from previous mindsets, from previous beliefs, into recognizing that you are worthy, that I am worthy, and so on. So I am, and you are limitless, resilient, and priceless. I am capable, and you are capable of creating limitless income. We can all set up strategy, structure, and systems and foundations for a limitless potential and flow. We may give limitlessly. And one of my missions and visions is to help in homelessness and cancer and help battered women and vets. And this often overlaps. And these are all deeply personal, connected to my story, connected to, if it wasn't for the grace of God and the help of family, there are countless times I would have ended up homeless. I myself am a battered woman. Many people are shocked when they hear me talk about that, whether it's been at keynote speeches that started back in college. I walked through an abusive relationship in my mid-teens to early 20s. And what I will tell you fundamentally about being a battered woman is it has so much to do with worthiness, so much of different things that you allowed or invited or accepted, whether it was words spoken over you. And no woman walks into, or man, because I know there's men that have experienced this. Nobody walks into a relationship saying, "Oh, I want to be a battered woman." And those red flags often do not show up right away. They oftentimes, it's similar to another relationship. It's, a lot of attention. But then step by step, if you're aware or discerning, you realize, like, wait a minute, This person's trying to control how I dress or who I hang out with, or they're constantly checking up on me obsessively. And the physical abuse often doesn't show up until months or even years into the relationship. So that's part of my story and why I have so much, grace and desire to serve and help women that are in that space and or have been in that space. Helping military vets, and that connects deeply to my story. And oftentimes vets and battered women are often a huge percentage of the population that is homeless, that connects back to worth and come back and goes back to childhood. And helping in cancer, which if you didn't know, part of my story is I also in high school worked for years for an oncologist that was so generous with so many people from all around the world that were coming to his practice in Houston, Texas, and helping serve. And then I connected through that to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and started doing tons of athletic events. Starting back in about 2008, back when I was in Houston, from century rides, then to triathlons, raising over $10,000 to $15,000 to help in cancer. And then in 2014, one of my best friends, Janelle, got diagnosed with cancer that had been metastasized in 3 areas in her liver, in her lungs, and her spleen. So it became deeply personal. And I ran a triathlon in her honor. And halfway through, the disgusting water and amoebas, apparently from the Potomac River, ended up invading my system. And halfway through, my stomach started gurgling like nobody's business. But all I kept thinking about, even when I had to stop at the restroom, literally on the running part. So if you don't know or you're not familiar with triathlons, it's swim, bike, run. So I was fine in the swim. Then in the bike portion, and I did an Olympic distance in DC, my stomach started gurgling like crazy. And then by the time the run came through, even though a week before I had done the entire triathlon in a quote unquote practice session here in Atlanta in about 2.5 hours ish, I think it was like 2:20. By the time the run portion came around in the real event in DC, my stomach was so legit tore up that I had to stop, you guys, at like restrooms every like 5-10 minutes. I'm not even exaggerating. And I don't even know. I think my time was like 3.5 hours or 4 hours, but all I could keep thinking about and all I kept my mind focused on is this triathlon, and well, me as a triathlete, but this triathlon is nothing compared to the treatments that Janelle is walking through right now. And I know I can do this and I know I can finish and I know I could have quit, but part of me almost felt like maybe, just maybe, if I finish this, like maybe, just maybe that level of faith would keep her here on this earth. But I had also accepted the outcome that maybe she was going to be healed on the other side and, in heaven. And a couple days before Christmas, she did pass away. But so it's deeply personal to me. So those are part of my stories. So listen to me, there is no limitation. The only limitations is what we put on ourselves or what we allow others to put on us. And it's not to say that the resistance does not come. The bigger the mission, the bigger the vision, my friend, be prepared for the resistance, because in every single step of my journey, I would be lying if I didn't tell you the equal amount of resistance has met me in every single season. Every single season. And we either get to choose to fold. And yes, there is sometimes times or days where it's like, God, just help me. I'm discouraged. I can't move today. All I can do is turn on Hallmark movies to try to uplift my soul. And I had some of those moments in November and December, like being completely honest, that also, I hadn't faced before, were alarming, and also coming from full-time travel 2020 to 2022, and also creating the story in my mind that, oh, it's 2023 and XYZ or ABC hasn't happened yet. And I was like, stop. Guess what? Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. So again, just because a dream and desire that is on your heart and you keep feeling called to hasn't happened yet, doesn't mean it won't. You are still alive, friend. You still have breath in your lungs. And today and tomorrow is still a possibility. And that is what I started telling myself and started realizing, okay, Katrina, let's hack ourselves again. You know that during certain seasons, as far as like winter or whatnot, it's a little bit harder for you because you don't have sunshine. You're not running around on the beach in your bathing suit. So, what can you do in this season? So, I was like, okay, great. I can sign up for ATL Girl Gang, a women community. I could become the VP of marketing for Buckhead Business Association so that I'm more involved in community and I make it more about others than just me. I get to sign up with Soul Cycle that then has me in an incredibly positive environment in their limitless $50 deal for the next several weeks. I get to take walks in sunshine. I get to do more in my business. So when I say all this, friend, I say it to myself and I say it to you too. We get to choose to fight for our freedom in all forms. So it is the power of helping yourself and people fight for freedom and sharing your story along the way and getting out of the matrix of the crazy things that people try to sell us on and convince us that it is normal. Working, 80 to 100 hours a week, selling your soul, discounting your worth, devaluing yourself, choosing self hate, choosing fear, buying into the stories of fear, buying into the stories that just because it's like this today, this is how it's always going to be. No, stop. So, how and what could you share about what you love? Unleash your inspiration tied into the content with your story, with social media, with your blogs, with your podcast, with your offer in my freebies library or at my link in the show notes, the bit.ly, bit.ly, create it like a boss. You can explore starting from my free video series on how passion plus purpose equals profits. Related also to my book and guide, you can dive into the 75 plus tools, and or if you want to create it with me in my monthly program, you'll hear more about it on the podcast, and you can also explore on the link too. That's the second link. And the series on how passion plus purpose equals profits was actually filmed in Cuba during one of my retreats. And speaking of retreats, you can also check out my upcoming retreats in the links, in the link that you'll see on the link in the show notes too, in Nicaragua. So that filming was with a different energy. And I share different things and highlight different things and share different parts of my story. And I was actually also at a very different place than I am now. The thing is, like I was talking with Ebony earlier this week, that's also the president of Young Bucks in Atlanta, with Buckhead Business Association. We get to evolve. So then what you overcome. You heard me talk about earlier overcoming an abusive relationship and the deciding that was not going to be my repeat story, that I was going to transition and choose to turn pain to purpose. And that is one of the choices we get to choose in any and every element of our lives. Walking in humanity and living out this life is by no means easy. And I don't know about you, friend. The more I live, and I recognize that. And I have so much grace and humility and gratitude that I did not have like 20 years ago. So I can't tell you, and I know some of you may have faced the struggle or the pain of wanting to save him or her, or wanting to save us in the believing in the power of love and, wondering why it didn't work out. And part of the story, I realize, and part of what I accepted is we don't always get to know the why on this side of, our journey. But part of that healing is letting go, and part of it is choosing to pour into ourselves with more self-love, more self-care, healing, then I got to realize we individually may help influence and inspire, but ultimately each person has to make the decision to save themselves or to change themselves. And that's part of free will. And it's hard to sometimes reconcile when you believe in a limitless creator, how a limitless creator will allow so many things to happen, but that's part of free will. And that's hard to sometimes reconcile intellectually. And believe me, I've years ago struggled with that too, that I was mad at God, or why did you allow this, or what that, but that's part of living in a world that allows so much love from a creator, that allows free will and the ability to choose, and living in a broken world. And then deciding to be salt and light no matter what. Deciding to love people no matter what. But sometimes that also means loving from a distance, forgiveness for others and ourselves, and learning to let go. We can't eat for someone else. We can't make choices for someone else. We can't make the thoughts in someone else's brain change other than the influence of being an example of love no matter what. What I can do is be that example, or you can. I can, and I get to choose to help you create it with wellness, with marketing, with business. But guess what? You and others get to do your part in the process too. And it's learning that boundary. And those boundaries sometimes change, and we freely get to choose. Like, I share a lot more now than I did years ago. And if you would have told me I would be sharing this level of access to my thoughts, to my heart, to my journey publicly 10 plus years ago, I would have told you you're insane. If you are working for someone or others and helping them pursue their passion and their vision while they are reaping the majority of the rewards, yes, that's part of service, but they also take the most risk for the most part. So in a sense, it makes sense. But if you are feeling resentful or discontent or not fulfilled in that, I invite you to consider the possibility that you are created to be an entrepreneur. If you were in a typical salary or hourly rate and you're getting a very, very small percentage of the value creates, less than 3% typically, I've done the math. I did a study on this, and you can tune in on the link in the show notes too. You may make a change to change the trajectory in your life, to change your family tree, to break generations, to completely transform what your life and the future of your lineage looks like. Share the imperfect moments. I love what, Brene Brown shares so much on the power of vulnerability. You see how sometimes in my face-to-face videos, or when I'm talking to you guys, or even here, if I laugh or stumble or do something, that I keep going. I don't stop or re-record. Like, there's beauty in the imperfection. Here's what I have in this moment. Here's what I have in this stream and the screen. Here's what I'm sharing in this moment. And keep in mind, you guys, I am and you are not for everyone, and everyone is not for you. Like the person that only wants to tune in to the business, like maybe they'll tune into some of my business stuff and skip this. I don't know. But my ideal person is the multi-passionate creator and CEO that has a desire to create and scale what they love with freedom. And they want it all. And they want to learn from someone that's willing to share it all, to like with whatever is at that moment, because there's things sometimes that we process, or that I process, that I don't share readily right away. And, and for the mission-based brands that want to create and scale a limitless lifestyle brand. Part of this that I've also spoken is I've been a public speaker for over 10 plus years to companies all around the globe, from NBC to Airbnb to Fitness MBA. But what's interesting is when I shifted to digital, it was so weird for me to not talk to someone face to face at first. But then I started imagining quote unquote, my friends, imagining my best friends on the other side of this. So let's talk about your gifts, talents, and abilities. What are you great at? What do people applaud you for or tell you? Oh my God, you're so good at this. What do you learn easily? What comes easily to you? So that's part of that. Like I shared in the example of, videos versus um, connecting immediately on social or even social media, how my social media looks now versus what it was like starting at, one. Go back on my social media and you see the transition and the trajectory that comes from practice, 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 progress, progress over perfection. Another story is graduating from college with my MBA. One of my main goals at the time, was get a great job, grow to six figures, work for a great company, quote unquote, follow the roadmap, people pleasing, then profits. Well, that led me to make a lot of choices that if I knew what I knew now back then, I wouldn't have made those same choices. I wouldn't have lined up to certain companies because my values didn't line up. I would have said yes to different opportunities. I would have said no to certain things. Now I'm crystal clear and getting increasingly clear on what are my passions, what is my purpose, who are my people. Do they recognize me as enough? Do they recognize my value? And I openly say, yes to certain things now and no to certain things unapologetically. And money is my last value. Because first, it's do we align on my values? Then, when I submit something, do you acknowledge that value? For example, I submitted for a CMO role on an ongoing marketing role with an incredible personal development app. And you guys, I got one of the most beautiful messages back from the CEO and founder that was like, I love your submission. Like your submission is amazing. And we're looking for funding now, and we're like I put this out, I didn't expect to get something so quickly, like something to that level. We're looking for funding and I'll be in touch probably in about a month. And I was like, oh my God, love this. Immediately replied when I saw it, and I was like, first, thank you so much. This is, I'm paraphrasing here, this is a great highlight of my week. I super appreciate you taking the time to reply. If you still want to connect before then and just connect on further alignments or learn more, I'm absolutely willing. Okay. So my answer was a yes because of his approach. And compared to, I submitted on a influencer marketing manager submission earlier this week, and same kind of submission, gave them above and beyond what they asked with extra value, with links showing proof of my value, proof of my work, standing on that I am enough. And their reply to me was, and I've had replies like this in the past. Okay. So I want to let you know this in the past. In the past, I completed them. Their reply to me was they didn't acknowledge anything that I submitted. They didn't share that they looked at any of the links, any of the videos, anything that I submitted. Instead, they replied with, oh, we want you to do this 30-minute test on this task and basically prove to us that you can do the work, right? And years ago, I would have done the task. And so I, in my mind, battled with humility, value, and service and the enoughness. So, I went through that. I was praying, contemplating, meditating, discerning. And what I felt align in my spirit through the Holy Spirit was, no, don't submit, because they didn't acknowledge and see and show you that they align to your values. And in fact, they just basically, in a sense, directly or indirectly, whether they realize it or not, was almost like saying like, you're not enough. And what you submitted didn't prove to us that you're enough, but we want you to prove that you're enough even more than you already did. Right? Which I know sounds crazy. And for some of you might be like, well, you might lose out on this or that. But the space that I'm in now, you guys, is, you know what? I'm not available for lack. I'm not available for scarcity or communities that operate in that. I'm available for ease and flow. And one of my favorite scriptures is Proverbs 10:22 that says, the blessings of the Lord bring wealth and he brings no trouble to it. Because I know I poured my heart and soul into the cover letter and the value and the links and the insertions and the recommendations I provided, which they didn't ask for. And so it was like, you know what? I'm going to let this go, and I'm creating space for more. And that's very different than I would have done last year. Okay. So I consistently check in to see with how I'm in alignment, how I'm growing, what do I want to tweak, being humble, being open. So that's the same with story sharing. So start to think about all the stories that you have, because this is going to be super powerful for you in 2023 and beyond. And with that, I would love to hear or see how your story sharing is shifting across your content, your channels, your offers, and leave a review on the show, and I will absolutely shout you out. And drop your Instagram link and or your website, so I make sure I include that in the shout out, because it helps others find our show too. And also tag me on social at Katrina Julia Fit, at Fit Life Creation. And as always, friends, remember, create, transform, and inspire, because you are born to. All the free chats on faith, wellness, money, marketing, business, and travel, so you create a life and business you already. Head on over to the blog, the podcast, and the freebies to jumpstart your transformation. If you're ready to dive into the online courses, the live events, or the retreat, and if you want to create with our community on an even deeper level, definitely check out our internships, our influencer collaborations, management, and brand engagement. Let's create it.